Previously on Vice Grip Garage. Hey, look who it is. It's Rich from the Boss Garage. This thing, bingo bango, we're ready to go. So I think I'm going to switch gears once again. I can't see nothing. Welcome back to Vice Grip Garage in part 2 of the 1971 Tomaso Pantera. I'm in Ontario, Canada, and I'm planning on road tripping this thing 1,000 miles back home to southern Tennessee. We got it running, but there's a tremendous amount left to do. We've got control arms and shocks and CV shafts and axle shafts and brakes and a hydraulic clutch system and more before we can put this thing on the ground and see if it actually drives. Got a lot of work to do, so let's dig in. Guys, very thankful to be here at the Boss Garage in Canada because this is not your typical revival. We are way into this car, way into it. And this was one of the culprits right here. While I was going through the paces getting this thing running, I discovered bad wheel bearings, first in the front and then in the back. We had something going on. This whole hub was just shaking around. Well, we think the nut on this backed off, which is this guy right here. And then what happened was this shaft actually spun in between the bearings and absolutely cooked them. This is welded, basically. Was able to actually track down bearings here, if you can believe that, just at a tractor truck shop. So we've got to put this thing back together. Rich welded this, ran it through his lathe, and he's actually fixing a collar right now. Then I've got to assemble all of this into the lower control arm and the hub and then put all of that back into the car, and I think that's where I'm going to start this morning. I've got hardware and parts blown out everywhere. I need to get it back together while I can kind of sort of remember how that goes. So this is essentially the lower control arm. It's upside down right now, and then that shaft fits through here essentially, and all the bearings and everything get pressed in, and that's what the rotor goes to, and essentially our wheel studs and all of that. So we can go over and take a look. He's got a spacer in here on the lathe right now, adding a little bit, and that's part of the puzzle. So once the bearings are in, there's a retainer plate that goes on the outside here, and someone's really boogered this up and monkeyed with it previously. They must have snapped these bolts off and then got them out, but at that point changed their mind and actually welded on the retainer. Well, I don't have any angled, conical, countersunk hardware either, so I'm just going to do the same, but I want to clean this up before we get the new bearings pressed in here. So I'm going to take a flap disc, clean all this up, give me some nice edges to weld as well, and then we'll go press the bearings in, assemble it, after I get that top plate welded in. So this would be the outside bearing we're pressing in. There it's going. Now we got to flip it around with the spacer in here, and we've got to press this side in, and then I can get the axle shaft and flange and all of that reassembled into it here. So now this outer ring, this bearing retainer, has got to go on, but it's been absolutely massacred. Cleaned it up with the flap disc. It got pancaked in the press. Now we're going to try to squish it against this hub. What in the world? There's stuff there. Oh yeah, that did it. There you go. Sweet. Thanks, sir. Yeah. Hard to see. That ought to do. That ain't coming off, and if it needs to, it can, because I already had to cut off the old welds. I don't know how to run this thing. There we go. All right, back to the other bench. We'll get it fully assembled. Throw this back on the car. This is the big chunk. Getting it in there. Get the rotor back on. And then we can maybe assemble the front. And then brake calipers, pads. Oh boy. Okay, now shaft. Sit like that. Then this piece. Washer. And then the nut, which is left-hand thread. Then we have a special socket, which we ran through the lathe and ground. Like that. Oh, I think I'm going to put some thread locker on this, actually. This nut backing off was the cause of all of this, so let's try to prevent that from happening again. Way too much. Perfect. Supposed to be some sort of fancy tool that grabs these, but we're not going to do any of that. I think if I just get the Milwaukee out and nail this, it should work. Oh. I think that's supposed to be 50 foot-pounds, but still some thread showing on there. I think that collar might be just a titch, but we needed that collar a little longer to pinch the bearings. It's kind of a domino effect. Okay. I'm gonna call that good. Wait. There. Now it's officially rebuilt. So if you remember previously, this was squealing and howling and had a bunch of shake to it. Now it's solid. And the bearing is following. Feels great. Not overly happy about the amount of thread exposed, but it's better than before. And can it get us home? I think so. Maybe. I forgot an important part.
It's not that.
Yeah.
Well, how about we clean this up first?
Yeah, let's clean it. We got to put the rotor on this side. It faces the back, then goes in. Not the other way around. But we're going to go rebuild that. Brand new.
Brand new. So this rotor is about worth as much as this lathe. And I'm not touching it with a bit. Yeah. Neither is anybody else in town, because apparently Pantera is not cheap. So we'll run a little bit of sandpaper over it, and if somebody wants to warranty a non-warped rotor in Tennessee, you're more than welcome to do my work. I won't even be insulted.
All right. Off the Pantera brake machine. Put the studs back in. Ah, these gotta be angled just right to fit. That's what I did wrong here. Part of it's flat and it goes into the inside of the rotor. There we go. I think that locks it from spinning. Okay. Oh, one more. I bought bearings for the other side too, since this guy could get them, instead of having them come from Italy or Britain or something. There we go. So I shall put these in the car with me. All right. Now we assemble it again, and this will be correct. I have decided to put a tack weld on the back of that nut this time. We got a little bit of thread exposed. I think there's one tack weld, just zzz, and we can drill that. I'm gonna have to take this shaft in when I get back to the States. It's got a bend in it. From all the heat that went through, it's got a waller, and have someone remachine it and straighten it. But I think I can drill that tack weld out just fine. Now we got to get this whole unit, which is super light, easy to handle, into here. And how I took this apart was the easiest and fastest way. So the sway bar is still on, and so is the bracket. I just slid it off. That's probably going to bite me. In fact, I think I'm just going to take this off now. And then we can slide the lower control arm in. And I might take a hammer and just slightly tippy-tap those open, because they're going to squeeze closed once we put the bolts in anyway. I'll grease up these bushings, and then we'll do the shock strut spring thing. probably the sway bar. And then we got to do the upper ball joint. And then we should have, you know, stuff back in here. And then we can figure out if we're going to do brake calipers, and even if I got the right ones that were rebuilt, because you can't buy those new anymore. And that'll be an interesting battle. There's the front caliper there, and I've got bearings in that box. We hope for the front, because this one was smoked on this side. The inside race was toast. So anyway, let me wrestle this in, see if I can get it back in place. All right, looking more like a car once again. Got all that back together. It wasn't too bad, actually. Went pretty quick. Nothing really fought me there other than the bushing for the sway bar. So now we're going to move on to bearings. Let's get the front rotors on as well. And then I think we'll tackle the brakes and all that stuff. Got that rotor up here. We had a race fail. See right there? And this sounded terrible. So we're going to go ahead and pound out these races and then pound in new races, and we'll put new bearings in. Now, if the inside bearing fails, I'm going to tell you this, it's not technically correct, but let's say a guy's in a bad pinch. You're on the side of a road and an outside wheel bearing fails. The race looks fine, but the rollers failed or something like that. I have packed a new bearing and put it in the old race and got myself home. Not technically correct. The bearings are supposed to wear into the new race and yada yippee yay and yada. But I'm telling you, I've done it a gajillion 9 or 42 times. It can happen. So keep that in mind if you're going to pinch. You may not have to take this all the way off and force out a race and all that stuff, but we're going to go ahead and do it. We've got the stuff here to do it. He doesn't have a seal driver, but we've got a bajillion punches and some big sockets. And that's fine enough. We'll make it happen. Yeah, this is all a guy needs. Catch the lip in there. Give her a good whack. Work back and forth. And she'll come out of there. Okay, pounding the new race in. 1.25 inch socket is really, really close and a safe way to get that started. However, these Princess Auto sockets are thick, boys, and it doesn't want to slide all the way down. But I can take the old race, now that we have a lip in there, flip it upside down, stack it, throw this one on this one, give her a good whack, and we'll have that seated. And then I'll do the same for the front half, find a socket that matches. Gonna get the races in first, and then I'll pack all the bearings at once. So that's a messy job, and then we'll get it assembled. Okay, time to pack the bearings. I really thought we were gonna have a hard time finding these, because if you go on any of the Pantera forums, they're all, good luck, you're never gonna find those. Well, there's a tractor truck store in town that was like holding a cold snack. Rolled these right out of a file cabinet behind them. They're KMLs. 11949s for the outside, 67048 for the inside. I'm gonna pack these by hand. That's just the way I do it. You let me know how you pack yours. Bleep bloop it down below in the comments there. If you don't like getting this stuff on your hands, you could throw a bunch in a sandwich bag and just squish them around. That'll work. They even make fancy tools now, like little cup things. You stick these in and just slam a plunger down and boom. Apparently they're greased, but I like to control it and I like to see it work its way through here. So that's all I do is just knead it in my hand. Watch it come through. Like that. Get all these done, ready to rock, and then we'll start assembly here. Okay. The service manual for the 71 shows there's supposed to be a cotter key in this, but whoever serviced this last, or maybe the factory, I don't know, this had a soft lip on this nut, and after they put it on, they just punched it into this groove. I don't know if that's how they like it in the land of pasta or what. But I'm thinking about drilling this and running a cotter key in when I get this put back together. Reuse the seal. I need my outside bearing. Got it. And so uh-oh. That's not super goodly. I should have probably tested this over the spindle. Oh, now I pulled the whole seal. Oh, she's a little tighter than the old one, apparently, huh? That could be an issue. That could be an issue. Goodness gracious. Yep. See, old one. Right on. New one. Oh, it will go. There's a burr or something there. Right there. There it is. Well, I'm gonna have to fart with this now. Might have to clean the spindle, run some emery cloth over it, clean it up for this new bearing to fit. I gotta press that seal back in anyway, so here we go. We got a shovel and we're digging and digging and digging and digging and digging. Just bring it back home at this point. Rebuilding. Still. Okay. Bunch of cleaning up, got it to slide on. There we go. And a nut. This one's left hand. Nice. Snug that up. I think I might drill this. Okay. Get the captain side done. We did drill this after a couple few bits successfully. Now I have to see if I can get the nut tight enough. No. I knew I should have put this nut on because I'm gonna have to go modify this nut. That's too big to get behind the cotter pin. So I'm gonna go throw this nut in a vise and take the death wheel to it, hack it off, and then we should be able to slide it on. So I just ground off the top, and that's that part that they kind of crushed in, and must have acted like a lock of some kind, but I feel much better having an actual hole drilled through that spindle, and that'll keep this from walking off now. Okay, so we are going to fire this thing up again. I think everything is the way it was. And see if that turns with the transmission, because if it doesn't, I've got bigger issues.
Yeah.
This is a hydraulic clutch system, so I can get a slave cylinder, and that's about it. Ugh. Wow. Does the seat go back, or is this it?
It's only 1,000 miles.
Yeah. Okay, see if it fires. Oh, I got the fan on. Aha!
It's spinning now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, clutch pedal down, going for first.
There you go.
It went.
Which one's the clutch?
It's one of the three.
Right? So that'll stop the car. Is the other one spinning?
No.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, let's clutch out. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes! I can't believe it's not posi. That's kind of boring.
Yeah.
Oh, that saves about 5 days of labor.
Yeah, you're okay.
Great news. Clutch is operating, which is pretty incredible if you think about it. 33 years sitting. That's probably the 5th time I've accidentally pressed the clutch pedal. And it seems to be operating. There's a master cylinder in the front. There's what they call a slave cylinder in the back. And they work in conjunction, and bleeding them is a bear usually. And the fittings on these are a really weird bell, kind of, I don't know, European imperial looking thing. Okay, back to brakes now. So I was able to source these. This is not new. These are actually rebuilt, and the guy did a fantastic job. They look brand new, but you can't get them new anymore. You either rebuild them yourself or you find someone that has them rebuilt. Now the great news is I can get quite a bit for these guys right here, selling them back to the guy that I got these from. So that's going to help me out tremendous. Oh, it even came with the new, wow, okay. He can have that one. I also have new pads. I got that from a company called why can't I put this in? Pantera out of California. These look really good. I don't have any wear on them. But that's just, we have them. It's a good opportunity. Let's pop those in. These are a little bit goofy. They have 2 feed lines and 2 bleed lines. So never done that before. That's going to be interesting, bleeding these out. But we'll make it happen. It's just a hydraulic system. We'll figure it out. My brake pads have a fuse. I'm not really sure why are we plugging this in? They're not blue teeth. Must be some fancy brake indicator, but the old ones surely did not have that. So I don't know if these are newer pads, if the newer option. I'm going to consult my manual. Well, the guys crawled around the car, looked everywhere I could think of. The brake light switch already has connections here. I've dug through the manual, which I hate to admit it has been a great resource, and nowhere is it saying, hey, there's cords hanging out of your brake pads. You need to plug them in somewhere. Nothing. That's pressure switch. Yeah, I'm clueless on that. I hate to cut them off before I make doubly sure. And I don't know, what's the worst that can happen though? We ride around with the brake light on? I don't know what's happening. Well, a guy continued to climb around the Pantera for a bit, and I can't find any electrical connections anywhere for that. And looking at the brake pressure switch again, there's 2 leads coming off of that. I believe one is probably for the brake light switch. The other one could be for the brake warning light if there's not enough pressure. Maybe. We're going to go with that for now. Over here, I've got the lead going through the caliper, and my plan is just to roll this up and zip tie it up for now. I don't want to cut it and ruin these pads. And then if we could figure something out in the future, it's still there. I believe what's going on here is that's just a normally open contact in this pad. So this is plugged to a ground for like a brake warning switch or light. And when the pad wears down enough, that contact is going to make contact to the rotor, which is grounded. So that will complete this circuit and light up a brake warning light. I don't think the 71 has that. I think these are probably fairly universal-ish, but that sounds like an 80s, panic light kind of deal more than this car is really just a fiberglass go-kart with a 345 horsepower Ford in it. There's not a lot of safety accoutrements whatsoever in this thing. So let's go ahead and start on the drinker side, get this bolted up, run the banjo on here, and we'll move over to the other side, get the fronts done. The rears are going to be a little bit more involved. It's this goofy single pad design with the spring keeper thing that holds the pads in, plus we have the parking brake fiasco and all of that stuff. So that's going to take some time and figuring out. So let's just get the front done. Oof da may, that was a fight. Took way longer than expected, but it's on. It's done. There's these spacers that you have to fit between the caliper and the mounting bracket. So you're trying to balance and hold in the pads, trying to balance the spacer in there, plus the locking tabs that the bolts go through all at the same time. In and out, in and out, in and out, different combination of spacers. This one seems to work. So front is done. Time to move on to the rear. So back here we've got this weird C-ray looking thing going on. I do know by reading the manual I got to pull this bolt and then these pins slide out and that releases these tiny little shoes which apparently lock up the rear. and they're loose in there, which is great. Then I got to figure out the park brake situation going on to this crazy looking contraption right here. Kind of an industrial shoe for like a cultivator or something. But apparently, oh, that sliding nut must be broken. Apparently that comes off of there, so, or this comes out of here. Not really sure. Just got to start digging in and get that off. Got it off. That was pretty simple. But looking at all the park cable configuration and the springs and all that stuff, decided to reverse engineer this. So I grabbed my rebuilt one and gonna have to look at this to figure it out. First concern is this. I don't think that that's my brake cable. And then it looks like I thought I had to take a pin out. I think this actually goes in there. That. I think I just loosened the cable enough to where I could slide it around this, and that's the park brake. And then the instructions say I slam this against a desk to get that yoke off, they call it, the implement looking thing. I don't know, we'll give it a whirl on one, see what happens. Well, the guy took the fingernail trimmer here and just put a little notchy in this bracket to get this out. This is busted right there. Add that to the list. But I went ahead and mounted this back on here so it was solid, so I could knock this cable free, because as we could see, this is not the same fitting as the rebuilt one. The rebuilt one is like a -3 or something. I don't even remember where I put that at this juncture. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and try to get this. This is actually the brake line right here, this goofy fitting. I'm going to take this off and see what that side looks like, because I may have a line that I can use in here, and if not, then I have to take out the other fitting on the other caliper to see if this will screw into that. This should be a male, and it is, with a copper crush washer, so that could work as well. Okay, I juiced it, and here we go. Oh, I just barely leaned on it, it came right off. Maybe these are the way to go. I think this has got a crush sleeve under it, kind of like a water line to your fridge, but I could be wrong. It is a single flare. I believe I have that line. I believe I do. It was one of 3 parts that you can currently buy for this vehicle. So here's the original brake line out of it. Here's the rebuilt caliper, so this is what I was talking about. Here's the end on the, whoops. Here's the end on the caliper. Here's the original end of the brake line. But I got these from some guy that makes them in his mom's basement or something. And allegedly, these are supposed to fit this rig. So what I'm thinking is, yeah, see, so this side goes through the fender because we got this bulkhead fitting, okay? So that'll do the same thing as that. And then on this end, we're just not going to use this fitting. Can't get it off with one hand. And then this one, I think, beep, plug right into there, and then we have a brand new stainless brake line, only in the rear, of course. Okay, I got updates. It did not plug into this one. I backed this one out, put this one in, and now, of course, this will plug right into that. And we got our bulkhead fitting down here. The concern is, see how this is double flared like that? One end bottomed out in the caliper. The other end went to some miscellaneous line that was not original Pantera. This one was flat or inverted. So we're relying on that crush washer that is used to stop the flow of brake fluid on that. We're going to have to see what happens. If that doesn't work, well, that's how the original worked. See here? So maybe we're all right. This might have been overkill. Okay, let's just bring her down a notch. Bring it down. Okay, now let's go ahead and put this line in while we got room, and then we'll figure out how to get the old one off of that yoke. Nope. Back it up. Yeah, that's not going to work. Because I just realized if that was the wrong size, this is the wrong size. That is not going to go on the bell fitting here. And there is no way I'm going to try to flare this. We're going to leave that be. We're getting brake fluid back here. That's good news. It might gravity bleed. So we're going to use new caliper, old line. Okay? All right. Well, that actually did come out by just slamming it on the desk, I guess. Well, they call it a desk. We call it a bench. This was in this. This is the other side new one. Or the right side, I guess. This is the one we need. And this, what? So this would plug into our basement cables. But then we have Dr. Seuss. So I think I'm going to put this in the bench vise and just delete that and use the original line. And I will throw this in the glove box that fits one glove in case we blow a line on the way home. We have an adapter and a way on one end at least to get that fixed. I feel like this is the final boss on brakes. You gotta clock this plastic. Okay, pretty well clocked. Simultaneously, you have to pinch this flapper to get that to go into this group. While you're doing both of those, oh, come over here and also pinch this lock in too to fit that one. And then while you're doing the three of them, I need you to press this in because don't worry, this plastic needs to spread apart also to slide onto here. If you could do that quick, that'd be great. And then we're ready to put it on after we get the pads installed. Success! That was easy. Okay, so now I'm just going to toss this on super quick. Basically, it's just throw it on, 2 bolts, e-brake cable, put that bulkhead back in, hook this up, and then I got to head over there and get that done as well. And then we'll have all new calipers and pads on. And then I've got this is new, master cylinder. It's a remake of the original. You see additional hole on the side. And then they put the reservoir on backwards from original. And I might use the original cap on here just because they're cool. And then we got to start figuring out how to bleed 74 bleeders on this. Whew. Okay. Drinker side rear done. Well, this one is some work. You just gotta keep your feet moving. We'll get there. We'll get there eventually. And just like your project at home, I know you might be waiting to buy something, or you can't get something right now, or you're unsure. Look, go get all the junk off the roof. Bad example. Clean it up. Go spray paint something. Dream. Make a list. Write a list out. Just do something with your project. You got to get that fire in your belly again. Just don't let it sit there and do nothing, okay? And if you keep your feet moving, you keep your interest alive, you'll get your project going, okay? Speaking of which, I'm going to move over to this side of the rear. Now that we've kind of figured out the process, this one might go a little bit faster. I'm just going to knock it out quick, then we can come up to the master cylinder here.
We need to put a couple ends on this, and we have lots of room, so stripped her back, and the cable looks really good. Put a little spacer in between, and we could solder on one terminal and then bolt the other cable to an eyelet on the bolt, or we could jam both together. So we're gonna aim for that. So these little soldered filled terminals are really nice because all you have to do is warm it up, and the flux and everything is already in it. I do like to take a little bit of flux yet and just put it on the fresh cable, and then just use my brazing tip on the torch to melt that, warm that up a little bit, and then just melt this on there. So,
I didn't know that existed.
yeah, it's pretty neat. It's well, you can either crimp it on or solder it on, but generally I have, if you have the studded post, I always crimp like a copper lug on there, but if you have the top post, the big one, then you're kind of stuck with these ones. So you don't need much heat, but I find the propane torch is just like not quite enough. Just a tiny little tip. Melt that on there. And then heat rises. So I try to go all the way around. You can see that's the paste. It bubbles first. And then you know the solder is getting pretty close. Now Derek, can you reach in and just hold that cable? Or not?
I got it.
You got it?
Success.
Oh, we missed like a couple strands. It was getting kind of dicey there for a bit though.
My arm got hot.
Mine didn't. That's why I asked you to hold that there. Oh, you don't have free healthcare, do you?
I do not. No.
Oh, yeah, I should have held that.
I needed the vacation. I was just waiting.
That should be good.
Sweet. I gotta look those terminals up.
Yeah, again, tractor places and transport truck places. So like farm equipment. So we'll trim these little hairs, and then I already put a heat shrink down on the back, so we'll cover that up, and it'll look even better than it did back in '71.
Wow.
Yeah.
Rich was like, so you're gonna leave them vice grips there? I was like, yeah. He's like, no, let's fix that.
Short out on that fiberglass hood.
Yeah. Well, I fought and got this side on, but I don't think it's gonna work, and here's why. The pads. Someone changed the rotors. The rotor on the drinker side is thinner than this side. Same pad, same caliper, everything. It's really tight. I actually had to grind or sand those pads down to get them to fit. I could turn it with a pry bar, but that's going to be too tight. They're going to get super hot, probably warp that rotor, which is pretty much irreplaceable. So I'm going to have to figure that out tomorrow, but that's going to have to do it for tonight. We're actually having a little impromptu meet and greet down at the Dunville Farmers Market. So I'm going to run back to my Motel 3.5. I've been calling it the Bates Motel. It's pretty nice. And get my going to town boots, clean up a little bit, go meet a bunch of folks up here in Atlantic, Canada. And then tomorrow we'll be back at this. I need to leave tomorrow. So I got to fix that brake. Got to get a brake master in this, do some tuning, do some testing, throw the luggage in, and start our journey. It runs great. It goes in the gear. I think it's down to brakes now. And, well, can I fit and actually shift and do all that stuff? We got to go through electrical, and there's a lot. Anyway, meet and greet. Let's get to it. Well, back in the shop this morning, we got a thunderstorm. It's raining. Actually just had a brownout in power. Went ahead and tackled these brake pads right away this morning. Threw a mask on, ran the fans, and threw them on the belt sander and just, tickled them down a little bit. But it's working. Check this out. Spins nice and easy. The guy's not going to warp that rotor. So we can move on to the master cylindre, which should be really straightforward. I busted these loose yesterday, threw some heat on them and some juice. Heat and juice, juice and heat, heat and juice. And then I gotta get these 4 little devils off here. I should look good. It appears the rod stays attached to the pedal. Because I can't even get my legs into this little compartment, let alone my body, to detach this rod that comes off of the booster here. So that would be great news if we could just rip this off and the rod stays in here, which is almost always the case when you have a booster. If you have a firewall mount or manual brakes, your rod is typically stuck in your master cylinder and you have to unhook the clevis on the swing arm of the pedal somewhere in here. See if this pops off here. Uh-oh. That doesn't look right. Uh-oh. Oh no. There goes all the theory. Right out the window.
Middle stop.
Ran into another issue. It's kind of fairly obvious what the difference is here. I thought at first maybe this would come out. And I tried, put a vice grip on it, tried to get it out. But these are different sizes as well. And when I measured depth, the depths are different in the bore, meaning the rod that's in the booster right there is not going to be correct. Although it does have slight adjustment, you have to have the proper swing degrees or angle for it to actually actuate the piston in the master cylinder correctly. So unfortunately, what I thought was new master cylinder is not going to work, and this is probably another late 71 issue. So I'm going to try to bench bleed this thing and see if we can actually build pressure with it, and I'm just hoping and praying that somehow, some way, this is going to work after more than 3 decades sitting. And then we'll plug her back in and see if we get the brakes bled. This I'm going to return because I could put my kids through college with that. There we go. So give me a few minutes. I'm going to throw this up in the bench vise. You guys have seen this a million times. I'll just run some hoses into the reservoir, try to bench bleed it. If it works, I'll get it mounted back in the car, and then we'll see what we can do. Well, Andy's helping me bleed real quick. I gravity bled him, but we got a little air left. Okay, go ahead. Oh yeah, there's some air. Okay, good. We're getting pedal though, which is fantastic. And nothing has blown up yet.
I'm gonna get a free right calf, we're good.
Right leg's bigger than left. Okay, again. Well, bad news. Can't get this fully bled. We get pedal, and then it bleeds off, which is always an indication the master cylinder is bad, which would make sense. The other one is different. But I'm going to take this apart and see if maybe we can source some O-rings or something in there. Started packing. I got the deck lid on, got it fueled up. These are some spare parts. This is a cooling pipes caliper rebuild kit. And I can't fit my suitcase back here. So I'm transferred that to, my typical suitcase. That'll squish in somewhere. So we're getting packing done and trying to get on the road here. So I'm gonna bust this apart and see if that same place that had the wheel bearings might have some O-rings for this, and see if I can somehow rebuild that and get it back together and bleed it again. Well, a guy ran to town and got some bolts. This is a M7 or 1/4" 28, and it was actually really hard to find, but the same place that had the tractor bearings for the rear had the hardware, so that worked out pretty good. Also got some ball bearings. Actually, these are spacers for like a dirt bike clutch, and the plan is to fabricate one of these essentially, or close to, but longer. So I stuck this up to the bench and fully assembled with this, how it came out of the car, like this. I made a little mark on the bench there. Now, when I put this new one on, we're going to make a rod that goes to that same length. And that's the reason I just skipped around it, was I was hoping this would work, it would be faster, and we'd be on the road. Obviously that's not going to work. Tried to take the guts out of it, that's not going to work. Boards are different. So this is the route we're on. So now I'm going to take this is a bolt I just cut the head off. We're going to flush that up, weld on one of these here, and this should be awfully close to that. And we have our own custom Pantera push rod. We should have some adjustability right there. So let's go clean this up, weld it quick, and then we'll start adjusting it. I would really like to be on the road today. I wanted to be on the road this morning. Get a few hours down today, and that leaves me 2 days of travel, 2 full days, where I would walk through the door, slide a suitcase across the entryway, grab a loaded suitcase, or I guess trash bag. Sorry, Jessica, we lost one in Canada, and then I'm off to the next. But we got to hustle, or if something happens and I'm heading south and it doesn't look like we're going to make the flight out of Nashville, then I got to start driving west and get myself to Minneapolis, or ditch the car and get it. Yeah, there's some things, plates in the air, so we got to get on the road. Just going to use the vise itself as a jig. And I guess if I just, if a guy were to just hold this down about there and tack weld it, we should be pretty good. So I'll grind it if I have to, but hopefully that just goes right in, does the deal, and we don't have to monkey with it too much. Ball is tack welded on. Looks pretty nasty, but let me run this through a belt sander and then we'll try it out. There, now we've got a shaft with a nice rounded end. That's not going to damage the master cylinder. To see if it fits. Boop, like a glove. Okay, now we need to assemble this and make an adjustment. Once we get the rod adjusted, I can get this back into the booster. Got to dig out all my fittings and everything already packed. We'll bench bleed this. And the reason I'm bench bleeding it, normally I just bleed them in the car, but in this case all that fluid is just adding to the already rotted floor. Don't want to do that, so I'll bench bleed it, then we'll come in here, plug it in, and start the whole bleeding process over again. Rod is back in, installed, measured, and I put some blue thread locker on that as well so it doesn't walk itself loose. Well, this worked out pretty good. I used the fittings. These were the bulkhead lines to the rear, or what was supposed to be the rear fittings for the rear calipers that didn't work. Anyway, used those and those lines. This is the brake fluid that I evacuated out of the cylinder with a syringe, and we're going to reuse it because it's brand new, although a little dingy. And get this bench bled. Might have to run in and grab some more brake juice. I think I'm out. I think I am. Then all we have to do is take our brake bleeding pusher tool, keep working this until the bubbles stop. Well, fantastic news. That worked. I have a rock solid pedal. I didn't even have to bleed it. We had everything bled, disconnected at the master, but the fluid was right there at the lines. Put the new one in. I did crack a bleeder on the passenger side just to see if it was still dripping. It was. Close that, hit the pedal, boom, rock solid. So I'm gonna finish packing. I gotta fix this mirror really quick. That's easy. I already fixed it on the other side. See, this one here isn't droopalizing anymore. Just gotta take it off the car, and then there's a screw that comes through and tighten that, and that fixes that. I fixed this dent right here, well, somewhat. I just reached through the fender and ha-cha, whoop, yep, psst, karate chopped it. That popped out. Got to throw my toolkit in. This is what I've been using, and I did the job. You know, pretty much has everything in here. Neat little kit. And I think I might walk away with everything if I put my stuff back, and then we can test drive it. And by test drive, I mean drive to the gas station to fill it up. We're gonna call that good enough, and we are gonna get as many miles down as we can today, as well as sightsee. Great news. We are back on the ground. Looks weird. I'm not used to seeing it like that. Rich chased some threads up front. We got 4 lugs on both fronts. Studs are just way too far gone, and you got to take the whole hub assembly off, so we're not going to be doing that. We'll just check on it here and there. I got it packed up with most of the stuff, and I think we're ready to rock. This has been a really involved revival. I had high hopes of doing it in that garage, but as fate would have it, it was too much to do there, and it's great to call a friend like Rich at DeBoss Garage, and he dropped everything, towed us out here, let me use the floor, shop, tools, his help, and really appreciate that. Go check those guys out. They got lots of builds. These are just scratching the surface back here. There's tons of stuff. It's a lot of fun. We're gonna run downtown. I gotta go get some tennis shoes because my boots won't fit. I might try to squeeze in a size too small, tape my pinky toe to the middle toe or something so I could dance the pedals around on this. Fill it up so we're not sucking the bad fuel at the bottom. Then we're gonna point this thing towards Niagara Falls, and then we got to get over the border before sundown. Or maybe we'll wait till a little bit later. I don't know yet. We'll see. Just kidding. No clutch. Well, a little bit of clutch. We had to bleed the slave cylinder here and the master cylinder. I couldn't get it into gear on the ground. Rich is cleaning up the threads on the rod for me right here. And we're going to put some water displacement on the 40th try on there or something, and make sure I can get this pin in and out. So if we do have to make adjustments on the road, you know, I don't need like a torch or something like that. I could just get in here and try to manhandle it if at all possible. Okay, clutch bled. Positive gearage. Oh, I'm gonna need to buy tennis shoes. Mirrors are all messed up. Here we go. First time this car has moved. 33 years under its own power. Brakes, a little soft. It's gonna work. Miles per hour, I can't forget that. Tack works. A little tight. Better than the Lamborghini, but a little tight. Boy, a guy can check on his floats from here, look for oil leaks. It's not bad in here, it's just the steering wheel is tilted a little bit. And it gets my, oh here, I have power windows. Oh, they're not very powery. Just trying to quiet it down. It pinches my leg between the dash and the wheel. I'll show you what I'm talking about. This, not ideal. This wheel needs to be moved. See how it's off center? I don't know why they did that. Easier to get in and out.
this needs to come over, and then everything would be fine. Tons of oil pressure, charging. Let's head down to the parts store. I need to get a pry bar, a vice grip, some brake fluid, and a long funnel. And then we got to start making trails. About 25 kilometers down the road, first fuel stop. I've got a smell of clutch and brakes. I think both of them are wearing in. One is okay, the other one not so much. I think the clutch definitely needs adjustment. It's slipping under acceleration, but for putting around today and this evening, I think we'll be fine. I just want to get across the border crossing and get some miles down, and maybe tomorrow morning we'll make some adjustments. Got a fuel system set up here and a couple other goodies when I stopped into the parts store there. So this is how we're going to be fueling. I'll probably eventually do the upgrade. Pantera has a window right here, little flapper kind of window. And then normally I would run Berryman, but they don't sell it up here. So we got to run Seafoam, which is pretty much the same thing, but twice as much. But we're going to put this in here. Not only try to help keep the fuel clean, but it'll also keep that fuel make it happen or clean as it's chewing on a bunch of rust, junk, and stuff like that. Here's that filter already, and then there's the post filter. Now the guy at the hardware store, a really cool guy, he said, hey, if you're just trying to catch stuff, check these out. They're for diesels. And it's basically just a basket that will catch that stuff, and you can really see what's going on. So I took what he had off the shelf, which was 3 of them, and we'll use those up. I'm trying to get this across with me. The old maple syrup. So anyway, $74 million per litre, 191. Sure, I don't know what that means. Let's fill up. Well, fueling is not the easiest task, but we got her done. I don't know what any of the numbers mean on the machine, but the tank seemed to be kind of full. So that's pretty good, I guess. Okay, so let's get to Niagara Falls on the Canada side. Check it out, and then I think we'll be crossing over by Buffalo, but I'd like to hurry because we don't have taillights. We do have headlights, though. So let's get over there, and it's going to be fun to see it from this side. Well, we made it to Niagara Falls, Ontario. I actually just drove by the falls and got the windshield all wet. Really coming over the road and stuff is really pretty. I'm gonna go ahead and hoof down there. I had to park 37 miles at $35 to park, but it's worth it. Let's go hike down there, take a look at it. I am leaking a little bit of coolant, but I think it's just over the overflow pipe. I might have got a little bit too high, and it might have got warm crawling down the hill here. Got to take my backpack with all the important stuff. I can't lock the rig, so I don't know. We'll see what happens here.
coming up on it now. Niagara Falls goes back, well, to the Ice Age, 12,000 some hundred years now. And we're pretty certain it was first discovered by Native Americans, but the first person that really put it on the map during a 1678 expedition was Lewis Hennepin. And he published a document about his new discovery on that trip, and that was this Niagara Falls. And then due to the rail system in the 1800s, this became a destination, and folks started pouring in, and I believe there were some very important weddings in the early 1800s as well. Look how quickly that is moving. My goodness. We'll keep going down. Get a closer look at it. You can see that mist just coming off. Comes up over the road. Not my first time here, but I wanted to show you guys if you've never been here. And it is definitely something to pin up on your travels. It's gorgeous. I think someone came off in a barrel in that one time. What's wrong with them? Man, that water is just flying over. They have little trips. You could go on that boat thing, throw on a poncho, and they take you all the way up into here and you get soaked. Then they run you back down. Beautiful. There's people from all over the world here enjoying this. It's really cool to see. You've got the Canadian side and the American side. Birds is yelling at me. I ain't got nothing. It's awesome. Okay. We did it. Let's poof back up to the car, fire that thing up, see how bad it's overheated, and I'm gonna find a border crossing that makes sense. Sunset here today is 7:43 p.m. It is currently after 6. I've got a plan, a route that will get us there before I need to hotwire the taillights in and do all that stuff. Or I need to just buckle down and do that before I get there. Need to tidy up the interior a little bit, change of clothes, and I haven't really planned how far we're going to go tonight, but you know, as usual, we'll just wing it. A Pantera out in the wild. I was nervous at first. There was actually a guy parked over here and said, "Hey, your car's leaking real bad." I thought, oh no, one of the pipes underneath broke. These are just like DeLoreans where the coolant pipes run through the frame up to the front to the radiator. But thankfully I crawled underneath and it's just the overflow tube. I think I got it a little too full. Okay, here is Peace Bridge, I believe they call it. So we'll go through here and jump the river over into Buffalo, New York. That's where we're headed. Car's so low I can't see over the rail. Okay, we are officially in New York. Back to the M and the P's and the H's. just started raining, and looking at the radar, I think I'm just going to keep basically following it or be in it all night if we keep going. And then I got to wire up tail lights and all that stuff. I don't really want to drive in the rain without brake tail light thing working very good. So I think I'm just going to call it for tonight. I found a Motel 2.5 that's being painted purple or something. It's pretty awesome, but there's food within walking distance. So I'm going to shut her down for tonight, see if this thing fills full of water. Tomorrow, we got some issues. It is starting to smoke terribly bad. We might have to look at that clutch. We should probably look at wiring. We got to check fluids. We got to see how the fuel filters are doing. I'm not even sure how many KMHs we went, but probably not enough. You know what I mean? So we'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning. Well, good morning. Car's still here. I already had an interesting morning. Couldn't get the front hood trunk boot bonnet thing open. Guy needed an extra set of hands. The latch kept snapping back so it wouldn't release it, so I had to use a water bottle, blow it full of air, and then jam it behind the lever so it wouldn't come back, and the air kept it from crushing, and then I finally got it open because I had to dig through my garbage bag and get some fresh clothes. Brake fluid still looks good, still have clutch juice, so I think we're good there. Gonna open the back, check the oil and the coolant, and made some executive decisions this morning. Last night when I pulled in, I thought I was going to adjust the clutch this morning, but I don't think I am, and here's why. Before I left, the guy's got her set right on the line, meaning I can still get it in the gear and it grabs, obviously. If I adjust this thing in to where it grabs more clutch, which would be good, but on the opposite, it's a give and take. So on the opposite side, I might not be able to even get it into gear. And my fear is I come up to a stoplight or something, push the clutch pedal in, and I can't get it out of gear. Or I'm in neutral and I can't get it back into gear, and then I'm that guy holding up traffic. So I'm not going to be hot rodding this thing right now anyway. So I just got to keep my foot out of the throttle, you know what I mean? Just let her ease up to speed. We're going to try to baby this thing the way it is. So that being said, I also made the decision I was going to go up to Detroit, just follow Lake Erie around. I'm already up here. It's like right there. Follow the lake around, scoot over to Detroit, run by the old Park Place Ford plant. Just give them a, that would be pretty cool, but I've decided not to do that. Given the clutch issue. So we're gonna just start, southbound and down, loaded up in carring. We might not have enough clutch to get there. Sorry about that. So I think we're just gonna start heading south. It's gonna save a little bit of time. Probably gonna do a little bit more highway this time actually, because back roads, it's a lot of stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. We'll play it by ear. I really don't know what's happening. We don't have a lot of miles on it yet. Okay, here's the other weird thing. First thing on my list today is get tennis shoes. Or maybe basketball shoes. Or skate shoes. I need shoes. These big old boots. I try to hit the clutch, I hit all 3 pedals. I got foot on top of a foot that gets stuck. I can't do anything. So that's going to be an awkward experience buying those. We need to get fuel, and then we're on the highway. Well, oil is good. Coolant's good. Downside is that air filter element is absolutely soaked. Driving in the rain. Gonna have to try to find a parts store pretty quick. This filter is hanging in. It's got some sediment sitting overnight. I think we'll go a little bit farther before we replace that. I've only got a handful right now, but if we go to a parts store to get an air filter, we'll try to get a couple more. Probably going to try this thing maybe before one of those. This will catch the big stuff, and that one could strain the smaller stuff basically. Okay.
Cold start. Ooh, that didn't sound good. What is that about? Well, that's certainly not good. Car basically flooded last night. I put it in fifth, rolled it forward, and made sure the engine was rotating by peeking through here and watching the pulleys. So the engine isn't stuck. I don't know what is going on, but it sounds not good. I don't know if I got full of water. Oh. Okay, well, see you later then. Luckily, I brought a can with me, so I dug that out, filled the bowls with a carb. Nothing. What's going on? Well, I don't have a lone wolf, so I can't rotate the motor over back here to see what's going on. I pulled the plug to see if it was getting fuel. This isn't good. Completely closed shut. With gunk, or was. So, I gotta pull all these out. Sweet. Okay, extremely fouled, oil covered on this bank in particular. Let's try it now. Come on. Yes, come on. It's close. It's running on like 4 cylinders. Wow, this is not good. Slowly coming around. Sounds terrible. It's got oil pressure, but wow. I think she's done. Lots of fussing around with the fuel making happen, or what shouldn't have changed. It is smoking like crazy. And listen to this. Trying to decide what to do here. I think I'm going to go to the parts store. Found a Napa 5 minutes away. You're gonna have to nurse it there. It's not good on the motor, obviously. But Napa usually carries a bunch of old school parts. There's no O'Reilly around here, so let's try to get to the Napa. We're gonna have to. I may tear into this. It sounds like the top end. If it's the bottom end, there's not much we can do. So let me pack it while it's barely running, and let's nurse it over to Napa. Made her to Napa. Look how bad it's smoking. And we got a ton of blow by. So I took a water bottle, poked a hole in the top, And I can run this across the headers, and if one of them doesn't immediately steam and dissipate the water, it's not firing. All 8 are firing. So whatever this knock tick isn't stopping it from firing, but it's probably like a dropped lifter or bent push rod or something like that. This guy doesn't have any parts, he said, and there's really nothing around here. There's a machine shop over here. I'm gonna walk across the road, see if they know where to get some parts before I tear into this thing. If we can't get parts, there's no sense of blowing it into pieces. Right now it runs and I can get it on a trailer if need be. See what I'm saying? Okay. Well, it's already afternoon. I'm down at the old Alibi, gonna get a bite to eat. Took some time this morning, but was able to come up with a decision here. And here's how that all happened. Really cool, actually. There happened to be a machine shop right across the street at Napa. And there's a guy that worked there for 45 years. He recently sold it to another guy. So I went over there and, hey, do you have any Ford parts? And he says, you know, I don't think I do, but the old owner might. Let me call him. His name's Kevin. Well, Kevin comes down, super nice guy, and he's a fan of the shows. And he says, I know where there's some Cleveland parts, and he digs around and finds some lifters and stuff. And I said, why don't you come listen to it? I'm pretty positive it's a lifter. And he come over to the Pantera, and we ran it, and he listened to it, and he said, yep, passenger side right there, it's one, but most likely a cam lobe. So we discussed it for quite some time, and I'm leaning on his knowledge, you know, building motors for 45 years, and he's a Ford guy. He said you could put a new lifter in it, but that cam lobe is gone, and you're just going to be running metal shavings and filings through your bearings and pretty much trash the entire engine at that point. And putting a cam in it isn't an option. We can't get one at a time. So that being said, I have to shut it down. I don't really have a choice. I'm not opposed to doing the work, but it would really be for naught. We might limp it home, but I would just trash that whole engine. So we're gonna do more harm than anything. So I'm gonna go in here and eat lunch and try to find us some wheels. Get on the face space, the list of Craig's, and see if I can find a truck and trailer, or a trailer and a truck, or maybe a flatbed, or I don't know. Called U-Haul, no trailers. They only have a tow dolly. I'm not going to drop the axles. That's a nightmare, as we know. Called Budget, nothing. There's some local in-town only trailer rentals, not going to work. We've got a long ways to go to Tennessee still. So let me sit down, chew on something, see if I can find us a rig, and we'll make it happen. We'll figure it out. I got updates. First of all, the tacos here were pretty good. Not bad. I'm in an 84 Jaguar. It's Matt's daughter's. Matt is a fan of the show. Look, he's even got a Vice Grip shirt on. And he swung in to look at the Pantera down in Napa while I was on the telephone searching for vehicles. And he said, hey, if you're going to go somewhere, I'll give you a ride. There you go, better than a taxi. We are on the way to look at what looks like a really awesome rig. I'm gonna leave you there in suspense. I hope it's as good as the photos. Has decent tires, I'll give you that. So we're in a nice little town. How many people live here?
Probably about 4,000.
4,000 people. And difficult trying to buy a rig. Matt was helping too, calling friends and buddies, and we was even looking at semis and motorhomes and dump trucks, and it's just everything's an hour south, hour north, hour to the east, or no one replies. The other difficult thing is trying to buy vehicles on the road is I don't carry that much cash. So you want a left cowboy boot, a gum wrapper, a pair of scratch sunglasses, and 46 bucks. I do have like 97 loonies for some reason. So that's also the hard part, you know. But this guy seems like he's willing to deal. We're getting pretty close. And we got to get on the road because I can't miss my flight. So I think we're going to be bombing all through the night into the early morning hours.
I could do the math, but that hurts too much. But we'll figure that out later. Oh, there it is. Look at the visor. Oh, sweet. I didn't even look what year this is. I think it's an 80. Wow. 87? 89? Oh, look at the exhaust. Well, a guy made a deal on the van. I am out of time. It's 4 o'clock in the evening. We've got a kajillion billion miles to go. It's a decent price. Here's the thing, it doesn't have brakes. That's weird. Matt's friend's brother's son's friend has a lift available and some tools. So I'm gonna go to a parts store, get some wheel cylinders, some line and fittings. We're gonna go over there, throw this thing up in the lift. Got to do a brake job on the van. Then I got to go find a trailer, which I have a line on one of those. It's got to get a hitch, got to get straps. Then we got to go figure out where I left the Pantera. Did I get the key out of that? Probably not. And then we're on the road. It's that easy, see? Well, we snagged on it. It was cheap. No brakes, and it's very, very, very gutless. Like, I don't even know if it's going to pull a trailer, to be honest. The reason I clicked on this one is the 3/4 ton. So the chassis is all there and everything. It's got a receiver hitch. Stopped at parts store, got a trailer brake controller because the trailer I'm getting has brakes on both axles. So instead of putting in a master cylinder and distribution block and brake lines and wheel cylinders and shoes all night, we'll just put a brake controller in this, make sure it runs the trailer, and then hit the road. It's already late, we've got a storm coming in, and a lot of miles to get down. Well, we're here at Bob's place. Awesome shop. Look at all this stuff, and look at this. We're twins. He's got one too. Same wheels, color, everything. Van is, I barely made it here. It's not good. Timing was off. Firing order's good. Adjusted the carburetor, brought the idle down. But it's, I'm gonna keep shopping, keep my options open. But I am gonna go ahead and wire in the trailer brake controller just so we can start heading south. I think it'll probably only pull at 35 or 40. Barely made the hill getting here. Big thanks to Bob for letting me use this place. Met this guy this morning over at Wells Machine, actually. He was picking up parts too. Small world, small town, I guess. So anyway, wiring, my favorite things, buttons, I don't know. Okay, so basically I'm gonna run a red wire and a black wire through the firewall. That's gonna power up the trailer brake controller. That'll go to the battery. Then I need to send a blue wire all the way to the back. Those guys are helping out, they're awesome. Short on time, so they're jumping in. One wire will be the trailer brake power. The other wire, we gotta grab one of the taillight wires with a Scotch lock, a screw, and a bread tie. And then we'll slam this under the dash with some self-tappers or something. And then boom, we have not just 2 rear brakes, we'll have 4 because of the trailer. Updates. Controller is wired, don't look at any of that, it's fine. This light is dim because the ground is disconnected. So Bob's over there hunting for hardware in his bins. These guys are back here deciphering the wiring in the van, which is both backwards and upside down and reversed and not typical. So we got a light bulb tester 200 and Feller C is up front running the blinker stick, and we're kind of just manually wiring all that up. I got a used hitch here they gave me, that was super nice. So we're making progress, a little at a time. Look at these pipes though. Did you see this yet? Look at that. We got Hercules' Terra Tracks, those are from 2015. Pretty sweet. We got the hubcaps all the way around, I think. Not really sure. We're going to turn the fuel pressure up. It's only at 2. Should be between 5 and 6. Edelbrock blows out at 6.5. So we're going to crank this up once we get it fired up again. Yeah, we've got hubcap lighters on this side. This is an old state truck. See the yellow? Well, the inside. See all that yellow? So this was a state rig, and it passed inspection, whatever that means in New York. So that's pretty cool. But it's plain Jane. There's nothing. It's a heater and a speedometer. There's no radio or any sort of accoutrements whatsoever. That is a Centerbolt 305 with headers that leak excessively, a intake and Edelbroken fuel make it happener, with what looks like an eBay HEI on it. Retained the serpentine, which is really cool. An old school 3-blade fan. Someone's put in a new radiator and hoses. So that's pretty good. Look at this. Look at that. Are you looking at it? Yeah. That's pretty nice. Thankfully, the weather seal is gone on this door, so the wires just sneak right through. Bob suggested maybe we look at the spring perches because they're most likely gone, because that's a New York thing. So we're going to lift this up, see how horrifying it is, pretend we didn't see it, and then quickly bring it back down again. The plot thickens. The van is now off the lift because some feller and the feller's friend is test driving it, because I think I might have sold it. That's fine. But this feller, the other feller, not that one or this feller, but the feller in the maroon, not Bob, but the other one, is changing tires on this Duramax with 74 million kilometers on it. It's hit deer 7 times with that truck. It's probably the cheapest Duramax within a 5-state region. I'm going to try to buy that thing. It's 2006, maybe. Pre-def stuff. We'll see what happens. I'll have a little jingle in my pocket if I can hawk the van. Well, here comes the trailer. It's an aluminum. It's used. It's 8-9 years old or something. But the best part is I've already sold this to Volunteer Muffler, so I'm basically just borrowing it, get home, take it up there, get my money back. All is good. Pantera is loaded up, strapped down, and we said goodbye to the van, and we got this old Duramax. Well, I'll show you more in the morning. She's rough around the edges, but listen, you can get 1,000,000 miles out of a Duramax, okay? All right, I gotta drive through the night if I'm gonna make my flight, but we got it figured out. Pantera's on a trailer, we're headed home. Point this thing south, throw this thing on cruise control, see how far I can get tonight, and then we're gonna have to hustle tomorrow as well. Let's hit the highway, finally. Well, good morning. Pantera's still here, so that's good. Guy got in, oh geez, I don't even remember. I think it was like 2 o'clock this morning, something like that. And I got another 9.5, 10 hours today, something like that. We'll do a quick walk around, show you the new tow pig shop truck here, and get some diesel. We gotta hit the road, you know what I mean? So when I moved to Tennessee, I actually sold my old Duramax, my LBZ, the one I used to pull Betty White out, remember? And this is very similar, except it's got the crew cab, which is actually really nice for the boys. It's nice to have a diesel back again. I really miss that. So I've already got a name. Instead of the Duramax, this is the Deermax, because the guy that owned this hit 7 deer with this truck. And it's still on the road, but it's taken a beating. Whole front end is bent up. None of the fenders align. The hood doesn't align. Look at the gap over here. This doesn't align. The rad support's been pulled out with the come along. Everything is loose, floppy, makes noise. That's okay. Like I say, it's rough around the edges, but that's why we got it so cheap. Rockers are shot on it. cab corners are going. Beds, I don't even want to know what's underneath that. I'm sure that's not looking very good. Back bumper straight, you know what I mean? Tailgate shot, it's really hard to latch. You got to wail on it like 15 times. It's got a tip that I'm going to take off immediately. That's pretty neat. These aren't rusted off the frame yet. Speaking of, it's got the New York scaling everywhere, you know, but it's not terrible. I guess the truck originally came from Texas, and then he's had it up here. I don't know how long he's had it up here. Big old mud flaps. He's already been sawzalled in the front. These are tires we put on last night. I guess he got them from a friend that did truck poles or something, and they're the same style tire. Well, I'll show you why. Yeah, these are a little worn. They probably get another 20,000 out of. Nope. And I'm not sure where all that rubber went. I don't know how that guy went through tires so fast. There is a fast fuel system on it right there. Don't know what that does. Pretty cool. Okay. And then she's tuned up. It's got the same tuner I had, the PPE tuner. I think there's 5 levels or something. You can just plug this in and go, yep, beep, give me more. This is on 1 right now. And it adjusts rev limiter and shift points and fueling and all of that stuff. There's all this, I guess this is a New York thing. Look at all this oiling and the hinges, and wherever they don't want things to fall off, they just throw a straight 30 weight in here or something. Back seats are great, which is good, because when you consider how terrible the front ones are, then as a whole, we could say the interior's decent, right? This door's falling off. Don't worry about that. Got some silicone, hold things together. It's fine. He knows how to run the little trees. Don't ever run just one. Okay? I've actually never looked at the seat. Well, they're not too terrible. Everything in here is LED. You turn this truck on, you can't even see. These are like 50,000 gigawatts and they're green for some reason. Does have a nice radio, and I got a country and western CD left in it, so that was pretty nice. Under the hood, nothing special. It does have an upgraded turbo. I think it's a Ling Long Cheapow, and a cold air intake, and other such performance mods like professional block offs, you know, and things like that. But otherwise, it's just an old diesel. Now, one of my favorite things is behind that LBZ, which is 650 foot-pounds stock, legendary in my opinion diesel, you have the 6-speed Allison behind it, so a guy can really get down the road. But that's kind of our new tow pig. Now, I was originally going to flip this truck right when I got back to Tennessee, but with the rust issues, all of the front end damage and things like that, and it's got almost 400,000 miles. I don't want to deal with the hassle. I would rather say I tried to sell it and then just have a diesel around again would be really nice. In fact, I could probably send Remington and a couple other trucks down the road and get my money back, and then we can have a diesel around. These diesels should go 500,000 to 800,000 miles if you just maintenance them. You know what I mean? Which means we'll break down on the way home. Speaking of, let's try to get there. That would be nice. It's been a while. I need to walk through the door, roll in my old suitcase, grab the new one, and head off to Minnesota, because a guy is going to get 777 back. Yep. I didn't take it with me when I moved. It's sitting up there. We're going to revive that thing and rebuild it, and it's going to be amazing. So that's why I'm so excited to get home and get on that flight. So let's go find some fuel, hit the road. Okay, whoops. Oh, I got 12.8 miles to the gallon polling last night. Allegedly around 5 miles an hour over the speed limit. Look at that. Well, now it just dropped to 12.7 because we're idling. Pretty awesome. Every light on the dash is on. Interior is lit like the crack of dawn. I wonder what Trace Atkins doing today. Yeah. Filled up. Got some spicy nugs. You know, breakfast of champions. And enough water to feed a camel. Drink a camel. I don't know how that works. Anyway, let's hit the road, see how far we can get. I got 13.1 miles per gallon this morning, so we can go quite a ways before fueling, which is great. Let's get some miles down, get this Pantera back home to Tennessee. Well, we've officially made it back home. Just enough time to dump some water on my head and grab a fresh change of clothes and a garbage bag. Not how I wanted this trip to go, but listen, it was a fantastic trip altogether. What an amazing journey. We didn't drive all the way home, but look at all the new friends and people we met and things that we got to do. And it made picking up my dream car that much more memorable. Huge thank you to Rich, Aaron, Andy, and then the guys over in New York, Matt, Dave, Bob, the whole crew there. They were just so kind and so helpful. And once again proves that the Vice Grip Garage Nation and the car community, you guys are amazing. I don't have words to say out of my face. Just amazing people. And thank you to you, all of you watching that are subscribed and like and comment and share the channel and your experiences. I could not have got this without you, and I am forever thankful. From my family to yours, thank you so very much. Not how we wanted to get here. The old 351 Cleveland just didn't have it in it, but we can fix that. We can pull that out and do something with it. I'm really looking forward to rebuilding this car. Some tasteful mods here and there, but I'd like to hear your opinion. And no, I'm not gonna LS swap it. Sorry about that, but if you have other ideas, know where to get some cheap parts, pieces, things like that, please bloop it down there in the comments, would you? That would be awesome. For now, this is gonna go into the barn storage. We got a couple other projects to finish up, and I'm headed off for another revival. So thank you guys so very much, and hey, we'll see you next week.